Hey everybody, it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini. Welcome to WIP Wednesday episode number 79, where I will be answering some of your pre-submitted questions on zippers. And because some of the questions I received were like beginner zipper questions, I decided to also combine this episode with a demo and a tutorial that is very beginner friendly. So first, let's take a quick second, make sure that y'all can see me and hear me just fine. If you can, go ahead and leave me a little comment in the chat box and let me know where you are tuning in from. I'm coming to y'all from my home crafting studio here in North Central Florida, where the sun has not come out yet today. It's overcast, not cold, but very humid and overcast. So hopefully y'all are having a little bit better weather than we are here. Let me pop into the chat, just make sure everything is looking good. Hi, Kathy, tuning in from Illinois. She says, lovely snow today. I'll take overcast and 60, 70 degrees over snow any day. Hi, Janice, tuning in from Bradenton, Florida. Awesome. Okay, Lorraine is in the house from Pennsylvania, and I see Della is tuning in from California. So welcome, everybody. I have my printout here with some questions, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So let's shoot everybody over to my over-the-shoulder camera shot, and we're talking about zippers, and a little bit more about zippers today. So the first question I have on my list, now quick note, if you have a question that you'd like to submit so that I can consider it or consider your question for me to answer it on a future episode of WIP Wednesday, go ahead and use the link that's in the video description box if you're watching us on YouTube. It's also in the caption if you are tuning in on Facebook. All right, so you can submit there. It's a Google form. Just enter your question, and as every week as we do another episode of WIP Wednesday, we highlight the ones that we're answering, so then every week I can go in and pull some questions that I haven't yet answered, okay? But we're answering pre-submitted questions on these episodes. All right, let's see. First question I have is from Colleen. Colleen is asking, or says, I've never heard of a craft zipper. Which type of zipper is best for this class? I'm not sure what class she's specifically referring to, but let's talk craft zippers. And what I did was, because a lot of beginners, or you could have been sewing for a bunch of years, but if you're new to zippers, it can be really confusing because a pattern will tell you 12-inch zipper, 12-inch craft zipper, 7-inch or longer. And so a lot of times people are like, well, what exactly does that mean? And how do I ensure that I'm picking the right zipper, not just the right length, but the right type of zipper that has the right width of zipper tape and has the right material for the teeth, depending on, you know, what the construction steps are of the project. Okay. Welcome, Angela. I'm so glad you can be here today, too. Okay, so here I have 4 zippers, and of course, these are not all the different types of zippers, but these are ones that you will most likely come across if you're sewing some type of a pouch or craft project or a larger handbag or smaller little zip pouch projects, okay? So the first one we have here, and I'll bring it down so you can see what I did here. This is a handbag zipper. So when you're looking at a pattern and it tells you craft zipper or it says handbag zipper or invisible zipper, the terminology applies to a specific sizing or type of zipper, okay? So handbag zipper, craft zipper, invisible zipper, craft zipper, but by a different manufacturer than this one. And so these are a couple of the samples I wanted to pull out. So the handbag zipper is usually, you'll see it in a larger bag project, in a large organizer, something that's bigger in size and typically holds more weight, because you can see the size of the zipper tape or the width of the zipper tape is a lot bigger than the rest of these. It's also thicker, heftier, and the zipper teeth are larger as well. So you already know if it's bigger, thicker, larger, it's likely going to be in a project that can withstand that amount of use and additional weight in what it's holding, okay? So a handbag zipper. Now, the handbag zippers, I'll note right here, they usually, because it's a wider band here of zipper tape, larger zipper teeth. They're still plastic like the craft zippers, but the zipper pull is usually larger as well because, again, it's a heavier duty project. You're not gonna have a teensy little zipper pull like this on a big old backpack or something, okay? So this here, you can see the blue on the zipper pull is a different shade of blue than the light blue of the zipper tape. And that is because I swapped it out from another zipper, same size, right? A handbag zipper, but I cut the ends here, right? Your metal stops that you have oftentimes on the end, or you can also buy these by the yard, right? The zipper tape by the yard. And you can slide on a same size zipper pull, one that's compatible with the size of the teeth that you're going to slide it onto, but a different color. And that just helps you add a little pop of color. Now, we can also do that to the smaller craft zippers. And if you've been around for years and done a lot of my classes or mini bag clubs or some of my tutorials, you probably have seen that and probably have tried it yourself. But I just wanted to kind of show you that, you know, that is an option if you want to have like a blue zipper handbag tape in your project, and maybe some of the fabrics that you're using feature like hot pinks or something. You could put in a hot pink zipper pull, and that looks really cool because it allows you to have another pop of color here. Okay, so a lot wider. Now, the width here of the zipper tape is about 1.25 inches on a handbag zipper. Okay. You can see it visually, but I'm also going to give you the measurements so you know. Now, this is a typical craft zipper. It's also just called a number 3 zipper because they have classifications for the zipper. So handbag zipper is often a number 4.5 or a 5. This one is, I believe, a 5. 4.5, like the larger the number, the bigger the zipper tape and the teeth are, okay? The craft zippers are your number 3. So if you come across a sewing pattern for a little pouch or something and it says you need 3 number 3 zippers, this is it. It's a craft zipper, aka a number 3 zipper. Okay, that's this one here. The width of the zipper tape is only about 1 inch, so a little bit less than this guy here. Let me make sure. Oh, it's a 1.5. My bad. So this is 1.5 inches wide. I was like, it's a little bit more than just 1/4 inch thick. So the number 5 is about 1.5 inches wide, and then the number 3 zippers or the craft zippers are just 1 inch wide. Okay, so significantly more size there. Now, this is an invisible zipper, and if you have a quick look, you can probably just by glancing at it, even if you're new to zippers, can tell where the difference is. Here, I can feel the zipper teeth. They're raised above the zipper tape, so they're sticking up top. Here, if I run my finger down here, I don't see any zipper teeth, and I don't feel them. Okay, the fabric is just, or the fabric of the zipper tape is just butted up together right there. Now, even though I don't see the zipper teeth like I do here, the zipper pull is still on top, meaning that this is the correct way to use and open up the zipper. So let's see how it works. If I pull on this, the zipper opens, but I still don't see zipper teeth. And that's because this is an invisible zipper. If you've worn a skirt or slacks or a dress that have had something like this, you know that all you really see from the outside of the garment is the little thin and narrow zipper pull, so that you know that there's a zipper there, but the fabric on both sides will butt up against each other so that it's seamless and you don't really see the actual zipper. You wouldn't have an exposed zipper like this on the back of a dress so that you see the zipper teeth, right? So you have to understand the different applications for the different type of zippers. The invisible zipper, if I flip it over, now it looks a little bit more similar to this one, but I can see that this is the underside of the metal zipper pull, so this is not the right way to use it. So if you have these types of zippers, or maybe you've been organizing in your room and just thought zippers and zippers, put them all in a bag. If you pull it out and you see the zipper teeth with the underside of the zipper pull, that's an invisible zipper. Go ahead and set that aside and set that, use that for your garments and stuff like that. Now, this other one that I have here is another craft zipper, same width. Okay, zipper teeth still on top, but they're not as raised and as exposed as these pink ones. They're a little bit smaller, and this is just because it's a different manufacturer. So I know, because I use these YKK zippers, which are the ones that we usually will use. They're really easy to find, but I've gone to like estate sales, yard sales, those repurposed type stores, thrift stores, and a lot of times if they're older zippers, they might be like this. I don't really like them. They work fine, but there's something about the way that look at that, about the way that it opens is just not as smooth. It takes a little bit more work. Like you have to put more pressure on it and kind of push down and pull to get them to open, even though they're still considered the same type of zipper. So if I have a pocket in a handbag that's kind of in a tricky spot, that's already either small or narrow or kind of tricky to reach the zipper pull, I'm not going to want to install this one. And the brand on this, I believe, is Talon. It is Talon. So if you have some of those, open it and see if it's easy or not for you, to open and close it. And then you might want to set it aside for a different type of project or use it in something else. But these YKK number 3 craft zippers are going to be, it just slides on and off super duper easily. Okay, so keep an eye out for that. All right, so all right. Let's see. Okay, so those are just a couple of the different zippers. So for a beginner, I think that's a decent enough little overview. I would say maybe 80% of the time you're going to be using a craft zipper, and the other time you might be using a handbag zipper if you're really getting into making bags, okay? Now, The next question I have here is from Eileen, and she was asking similar to what I just covered. She says, zippers, what is the difference in characteristics between the number 3 and the number 5 zipper? I have lots of zippers but don't know which to use on bag projects such as, and then she names a couple of my projects like the Sunday tote, the stroll crossbody, and the Sandy foam pouch. So if you're ever making one of my patterns from an online digital course, we have over 90 of them already, or you sign up for one of my mini bag clubs, always check the PDF, the supplemental instructions that comes with it, and of course the video lessons. If you're gonna go through the steps to make it, follow what I'm showing you in the videos and go by what I tell you to get. And usually, if it's not gonna matter too much, say the length of the zipper, I will tell you, you need at least a 12-inch or longer number 3 craft zipper. Now, a lot of times I also get questions from students who say, hey, I know you called for a 16-inch craft zipper, but I only have an 18-inch number 5 handbag zipper. And they want to know, how can they replace one zipper for the other? Well, they're pretty straightforward for you to swap out. The main thing is that when you're sewing fabric to install the zipper to either side, right? Because the zipper tape on the number 5 zipper is so much wider, if you only use the seam allowance of your zipper foot, okay, you're going to have a lot more zipper tape exposed right here. Okay, because most zipper feet will have about 1/4 inch seam allowance. So if we cover, I'm just going to grab a little scrap piece of fabric here and place it over 1/4 inch of that zipper tape. Say that was sewn there with 1/4 inch seam allowance, you're going to have all this light blue zipper tape still exposed in your project, which is fine, right? If this zipper would be installed in like a gusset or a side panel or something that opens up like that, all you're going to do by sewing fabric and using a basic zipper foot 1/4 inch seam allowance to a handbag zipper is you're going to have more fabric exposed, and you're going to give yourself that much more room in that gusset area, because this is a zipper, yes, but it's also fabric that's going to be in that area. So instead of sewing fabric right up to, okay, the edge of the zipper teeth, by giving yourself a little bit more, you're adding that much more width wherever that zipper is to be sewn into. Okay, so hopefully that makes some sense. Now, if we did the same thing and we sewed 1/4 inch seam allowance on a craft zipper, you know that you're going to have barely any of that zipper tape showing. Okay, so those are going to be the main differences. Otherwise, the other thing is, like for this, on a craft zipper, I usually recommend that you put on a zipper foot so that the zipper foot can be narrow and it will allow you to stitch real close to that zipper tape edge. Whereas the universal zipper, or excuse me, the universal sewing foot on most sewing machines is still less wide than this is. So sometimes you don't even have to swap out for a zipper foot to stitch down a handbag zipper, because you'll still have room here because the zipper tape is that much wider. Okay, there's just a couple things that you have to keep in mind. Also, I always tell my students, even though you can easily swap one of these out, like use a number 5 zipper in place of a craft zipper, you also have to think about the size and the proportion of the project. If I have a little pouch like the one I'm about to show you how to make here, I'm not really going to want to install this super wide, huge zipper, because it's going to look a little awkward that the zipper tape is wide, the zipper teeth are huge, the zipper pull is massive on a small pouch, right? So that's often where the designers also select the supplies that we require the students to use. And we tell you, hey, use this zipper for that. I have plenty of bag projects where maybe for the main closure, those of you that have taken my courses know, we have maybe a bigger one, and then maybe for some inside pockets on the bag, we use a craft zipper. So you can also use both of these types in one singular project, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Bertha's asking, or the next question I have here is from Bertha, and Bertha had asked, can you help me with zippers for a beginner? Great. So hopefully if you're watching this, Bertha, whether you're on here live or watching the recording, then hopefully you're getting kind of a little bit of an overview here of zippers, what to keep in mind, what you can use and all that. And then we're going to jump into a demo next. And this demo is due to a question that I received from my friend Tamara. Hi, Tamara. She's usually on here. Maybe she's on. And Tamara had submitted into the form. She says, hi, Vanessa. Can you show us more mini projects using your faux leather sample packs? Bonus, using the travel Jukie machine that several of my sewing friends and I bought from your shop. Thank you. So I'm going to show you how to make another little mini pouch project using our faux leather sheets. And we're going to use the Jukie-LB5020. I know last week we were sold out. So we have them back in stock. I did mention that Jukie raised, there's the Z sound, raised the price. So we're still offering free shipping on that. But if you want to get in on the stock that we have right now, you can check that out in our online shop at craftygemini.com/shop. Okay, so let me zoom out. Let me get my sewing machine set up. I just want to show y'all the machine real quick, and then we'll jump into measurements and talking about the faux leather sheets. So this is just a basic home sewing machine. It's computerized. And if you are new here, you can go back in the archives. We are on episode 79 of WIP Wednesday. So there's 78 other episodes that you can watch. And on the vast majority of them, I'm sewing something or showing you something on this sewing machine. So it can sew through faux leather, as you'll see today. It can sew through regular cotton. I've piece quilts, I've made bags, I've made garments using both woven fabrics. I've also made stretch knit garments on here. I can quilt my mini quilts. I mean, this little home sewing machine is great for travel. Like Tamara mentioned, I know her and some of her friends had bought it to take to retreats, to sewing and quilting retreats. So great little machine if you're in the market for one. Okay, water. Now let's start. So this zipper pouch legit takes minutes. A couple of minutes. So let's walk you through it. This features our faux leather sheets, which we have in the shop, and we sell right now. What we have in stock are 4 packs. So yes, the image that you'll see on the product page is going to show you a bunch of colors. You're just going to get 4 colors. So what I recommend that you do, and this is what I tell people when we talk about these faux leather sheets, because we have assorted colors, feel free to include in the message box when you place your order if you only want brights, if you prefer neutral colors, if you want 4 black sheets, so that when my team is packaging up these orders, they can try and match your request as best as possible. Okay, we don't guarantee that we can do it because sometimes we run out of certain colors, but you know, if you want something, or say, usually we'll get customers who purchase, say, 2 packs, and they'll say in the little box, they'll say, can I please get different colors for the 2 packs instead of getting 2 identical 4 packs? And that's something that we can usually work on as well. Okay. So here are a couple of the colors. The sheets, we sell them in a 4-pack, and the rough sizing on it is 8 1/4, 8 3/8 or so by just under 12 inches. It's going to be like 11.5 to 11 3/4. So the way that I worked this little project up is so that you don't have any waste. Okay, we're going to use 1 sheet for 1 pouch. So let's get started here. Good. So this is the little zippered pouch. Look how simple it is. And this is just by keeping the corners down here at right angles. You can curve this up. You can do funky shapes. You can do whatever you want. But this, I think, is the most efficient way to use all of the fabric in the sheet. Okay. If you want to check out the faux leather sheets, we'll put the link. It's in the caption on Facebook. It's in the video description box on YouTube as well. So a zipper right at the top. You can probably tell this is folded in half, right? The full sheet, and we have a zipper installed smack dab in the middle. I have a lot of markers and pens in here, so I wanted to show you how much it actually can hold. So if you have a journaler, or you're a journaler yourself, or color pencils, crayons, you have an artist or a sketch artist or anything like that, this makes a super quick and easy gift. If you have a machine or an embroidery machine, perfect canvas for you to do a monogram or a cute design or a name or whatever you want to do on here. You just have to be mindful of the direction, okay, when you position it. So if the sheet is fully open like this and the zipper is going to get installed in the middle, make sure that you have it oriented correctly so that you do your embroidery where you want it, okay, on the front or the back, or both. Now, this project, because it just takes a couple minutes, does not require any lining. And what it does require is some type of fabric, like our faux leather sheets here, that don't fray, okay? Because we have raw edges on the outside. Cork fabric, craft tex, clear vinyl. I'm trying to think like what other types of fabrics that you might already have in your stash would work for this. These are super quick and easy projects. If you also sell like at craft fairs or craft bazaars and stuff like that, imagine this in some cute clear vinyl with funky colored zippers. I think that would be super duper cute. And of course, our faux leather sheets, like I showed you earlier, come in a ton of different colors. Some of these are even metallic, which is the one that I'm going to work on in a second. But all these markers fit in the 1 pouch. Here's what I will tell you. I have 2 of the exact same size pouches here, but they don't all fit in this one, and that is because of the zipper used. So again, this is why I like to tell my students, we usually recommend you start with a zipper that's longer than what you need. So the bare minimum size of a craft zipper that you can use for this is a 7-inch zipper. Because the reason some of these won't fit, well, the full amount won't fit, some of them will, because you can still see that we can fit them in the pouch. But once you start eating up some of the space inside, because of the 7-inch zipper, I still have a metal zipper stop here. And so that's taking away about 1/4 of an inch from the full width of the bag. So the bare minimum, I would say a 7-inch craft zipper. If you go bigger than that, then you know that you can use up the full width of that zipper here, okay? So there you go. If you're not going to use a 16-inch, or I'm going to check, I think this is a 16 or 18-inch, then you know that you definitely want to have something that's at least longer than the 7-inch so that you're not wasting that width there, okay? So here's what we need. One of my faux leather sheets and a number 3 craft zipper. That's it. I mean, of course, your sewing machine and your supplies and stuff, but let's get started. I'm going to grab a ballpoint pen so that it shows up better on camera. And the reason I'm grabbing a ballpoint pen, if I can, where to put it? Oop, let me plug up my sewing machine. Here's my ballpoint pen. Now, these faux leather sheets are fabric backed, so it's really easy to draw on it with a ballpoint pen. I'm not using one of those inky pens because as you move things around and are taking your measurements, all that ink is going to smear on your hands. Ask me how I know. All right, so we're going to take our sheet pretty side face down. I'm folding it in half so that I can find the exact halfway mark. So this is going to work good because if you have cork fabric or some of these faux leather sheets, or you have other type of fabric that you could use for this and it's a different measurement than mine, just fold it in half as long as it's not a super tiny scrap. Notice what I'm doing. I've matched up the raw edges here in half and I am just marking at the fold on the wrong side of the fabric to find that halfway mark. Okay, so here's my halfway. Here's my halfway. Okay, now I am going to, so where the halfway mark is the exact center. So I'm going to draw a box here that measures 1/2 inch wide. It cannot start or end on this halfway mark. It needs to be straddling it in the middle because otherwise the zipper teeth will not ride on top. If you come down, like say you start measuring from this line and do your 1/2 inch box to the right or to the left, your zipper is going to be offset. It's not going to be right in the middle. You could potentially fix it by making it fold in half and then trimming off excess from one side to make them be even. But let's just start off on the right track, okay? So if this is my center mark, I'm going to go 1/4 inch to the right of this mark on both here and here. And then I'm going to come in 1/2 inch in from the edge. So what I'm doing is I've taken my 5 inch by 10 inch ruler and I'm positioning it on one line. So I know that these are 1/4 inch increments and I can come down 2 of those boxes down and that's 1/2 inch. So I'm going to start here at the 1/2 inch. This is 1/2 inch and then I'm going to draw a line. Okay, and I'm going to turn it and do the exact same thing on the other side. So that is going to give me a 1/2 inch wide box with the center point splitting that box down the middle. Okay, so again, I'm positioning the 2 marks I made for the centers on the 1/4 inch line of my ruler. I'm coming in 1/2 inch from the side here, and I'm just going to draw the line and stop 1/2 inch up from the bottom here, like this. And then we're just going to draw the side lines here to finish making a box. If you've done an inset zipper before, like in an inside of a handbag in a pocket, you've done this before. You know how to draw that box so that it's perfectly centered. So again, to recap, notice that the side where I marked the halfway point is not at the top or the bottom of the box. It's in the middle. It needs to be centered so that, you know, the zipper is where it needs to be. So after I draw that box and I drew it on the wrong side, I'm going to grab my bitty bitty rotary cutter, which is my 18 millimeter. 28 millimeter, just kidding. The 18 millimeter is the one I use on paper. It's even smaller than this. And I'm just going to follow the line and cut out everything. The whole outline, I need to cut it out. Now, if you're not pretty steady or you just don't feel confident with the rotary cutter, you can use shears too. What I would do for that, and where are my big scissors? Here they are. What I would do for that is make a slit in the middle and then, you know, get the blades of the scissors in and then carefully work your way around to cut everything. You don't want to cut past these corners. I can do that with this though. So you can use your ruler if you do want to use the rotary cutter. And I'm not starting off, obviously not on the end here. I'm going to start a little bit up from the sideline because I rather cut shorter and then finish off any little bits in the corner, you know, the tightest little portion of the corner with scissors, okay? So I'm just going to cut the 2 long ones first. Stopping shy of the corners again. And then the corners, I'm not rolling because this is not long enough. I'll just place the blade down and just push it through to cut. That's it. And then we'll pull this little piece out and see how much we have left that's stuck, right? And then that's what I'll come back in and just snip the little corners. And that's how I make sure that I do not cut past the 90-degree angle corners with the rotary cutter. Even though I try to save a little bit of time, I really like using rotary cutters though. It's fun for me. Oh, that was already cut. It's just in the corners, right? There. Okay, so this is what we have right now. Ta-da! And if we fold it in half, we'll see that the sides and this should match up, and then you should be right like that. So that 1/2 inch wide box should be folded in half when you fold it in half because we measured correctly, okay? Now I'm going to use a hot pink zipper, and the zipper I have here measures 16 inches. Plenty. You don't need one this long, okay? See how wide that is? But a longer zipper than just the length of this opening is going to ensure that you don't run the risk of hitting metal when you're sewing and that you're not eating up some of the space of the zipper like I have here with this super short 7-inch zipper. Okay, so I would say anything, 9 inches, 10 inches or bigger is going to give you plenty to work with, okay? But the bare minimum, remember, is a 7-inch zipper. Beth is asking, what about larger sheets of faux leather? If you have larger sheets, you can just cut them down to size. Remember I said that this measures about, what did I say? About 8 1/4 or 8 3/8, 8 1/4 by 11 1/2. You can cut your sheet down to this size if you like it. Otherwise, just work out your dimensions. If you want if you want the pouch to be bigger or smaller, just remember the orientation of it. So the length here needs to be twice the measurement of the height you want your bag to be, because this is the finished height. It's repeated here because the zipper is installed at the halfway point here. So however tall you want your pouch to be, make sure that your width is at least twice that. Okay, and then the width, however wide you want your pouch to be. So this is one also that even if you're a beginner, you can come up with your own dimensions. If you have a smaller scrap of this, say I had a chunk like this, I could just leave that piece, fold it in half, install a little zipper, and make a little pouch. It's super, super easy. So make one with these dimensions first so you can wrap your head around the steps, and then, feel free to make them any which way you want to, okay? All right, so now we're gonna flip this back over, pretty side face down again. And this very, very handy tool here is my Wash Away Wonder Tape, which we do have back in stock in the shop. This is a 1/4 inch wide, and it is a double-sided sticky tape. You can see it sticks to my fingers, and you can position it where you want something to hold and be sticky, and then peel off this paper backing. Now, the paper backing, if it's a new roll, can be a little bit tricky, but I'll show you. So I'm going to unwind some of this, and I'm going to position it close to that cut edge on this end of the box. You don't need it to go all the way to the edge because this bit that's here on the left and right side of the box is going to be your seam allowance. So you don't need to waste your tape and put it in there. We just want the zipper to be held in position so it doesn't move on us for stitching it on top and bottom. That's plenty. So I'm going to cut with my scissors. Now, again, like I said, this is a new roll. You can see it's pretty full. I like to rub my fingernail on it when I stick it into place. So the idea is that tacky side is sticking to the fabric backing on the faux leather sheets. And then I try to come to one corner, and of course, on the day I decide to do this, I have no nails. But I will scratch, 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 and pick up one little corner of the tape until it kind of folds and peels back. Once you have that, you can just peel the paper backing off, and you can see that we still have tacky there, okay? Which is going to help hold our zipper tape in place. We're going to do the same thing to the opposite long edge. Sometimes people will write me and say like, I'm using that Wash Away Wonder Tape. I cannot get the paper backing off. There's just no way. So some other tips are like, make it a little bit longer and scrunch it up and like fold it, bend it up as you need to separate them on the end, and then just chop that little bit off and use it kind of like a 1/4 inch of like working space to get you to do it right. Another option is to use a sewing pin, and you can try and pick, well, let me scrape it first so that it scratches and sticks to the fabric backing. And then you can kind of take a pin and pick at the paper backing side. The thing is that the adhesive is really good. So it can be a little bit tricky to do that, and I'd rather not poke my fingers, so I much preferred the scratching method. So I'm just scratching, scratching till I see a little bit. Oop, I'm sticking to the other side. Till I see a little bit of that paper backing lift up. Then I'll grab it. There we go. And peel it off. Okay, so now I have two sticky lines of tape there. And remember that this is the wrong side of our project. So when we look at the finished pouch, we want the zipper teeth to be facing out so that it's on the pretty side of the faux leather. So that tells me that I need to flip my zipper, not zipper pull up, but zipper pull facing down, okay? Now, if you're working with a longer zipper like I am here, you want to open the zipper a little bit because your zipper pull that makes it a functioning zipper has to be somewhere inside this box. So in other words, we cannot position it like this and then go in and cut our zipper. We're not going to have a zipper pull because, hey, it's all the way over here. Be careful. So open it up, position it so that that zipper pull is somewhere in the middle. And then we can just push down so that the zipper tape sticks to our Wash Away Wonder tape, that sticky. Now on the side here where it's open, don't try to avoid keeping your zipper open like this. You want it to be closed so that when you're opening and closing the zipper, it doesn't have to, like, it doesn't get sewn open so that it's not able to pull in the two sides of the zipper teeth, if that makes sense. I like to kind of pinch them with my fingers to get them to be close because that's how they're going to need to be in order for the zipper to close it and work in the finished pouch. Okay? So now I flip it over and I make sure that I don't have zipper tape like too much on one side or too little on the other. I want it to be evenly spaced here, okay? So that it looks like that. Good. And then I'll slowly close this and make sure that everything is where it needs to be. If you see the fabric buckling on you a little bit, just kind of lift it and reposition because sometimes when that zipper was open, that zipper tape, or excuse me, the double-sided tape is pulling it closer or further apart than it needs to be. But that looks good. Now, once I do that, again, I'm going to move that zipper pull over. I do not want to have zipper pull anywhere near my sides here because those are my side seams, okay? Now, we're going to grab our sewing machine and install our zipper foot right here. Okay? I'm just going to, let me zoom out so y'all can see my settings and everything on this machine. Okay, I'm going to press a button on the back of my machine here and that just drops the regular, like the universal presser foot. And then I'm going to slide my zipper foot, which usually if you have a home sewing machine, it looks something like this. They can be a little narrower or wider, but they usually will look like this, like a little sled, like a little ski kind of a shape going up like that. All right, so now all I'm going to do is stitch around the box. You don't want to be super close. You don't want to be super far out, right? Because it needs to be narrow enough to grab the zipper tape. It cannot be too wide because then you're going to miss the zipper tape and the zipper is not going to actually be sewn to the pouch, okay? So I like to, and if my foot is, first of all, big tip, make sure your needle is in the center position, okay? Every machine I have ever used requires the needle to be in the center position with the zipper foot on, okay? If you have moved your needle over, and you go to take a stitch, if it's happened to you, you know what I'm talking about. If the needle is over and I sink it down, it's going to hit the metal of the zipper foot and it's just going to break, boom, instantly, because it can't take a stitch there. So make sure that you have it set to your default setting. If you can't recall what your default setting is here, like for the stitch width on a straight stitch that signifies the needle position, just turn your machine off and then turn it back on, and that will bring up the default settings, which usually, not on all machines, but usually will put the needle in the center position, okay? So now I need to stitch around, and I like to keep about, I would say, a scant 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I don't want to go too wide, but I don't want to be sewing like a 1/16 of an inch either. That's kind of a little bit too small. Okay, but you have about 1/4 of an inch of zipper tape underneath the faux leather there for you to use. Now, sometimes I like to start on the end here. If this is the first time sewing through zipper teeth and a thicker fabric like faux leather or cork on your machine, I would start on a straight side, not like here where all the bulk is, okay? But I'm going to start here because that's what I do. Okay, so I'm going to start right there. And when it comes to the length, so let's talk a little bit about the setting. I have my wonderful designer thread on the machine in gray. This is 100% polyester. We are currently out of stock, but I do have an order that should be here in a couple of days. So if you check out our shop and you look up polyester thread, Wonderful thread, it shows sold out currently. It says there's a wait list button there. If you want to be notified when we get it back in stock, just click, put your email there and you'll get an automatic email once it's back in stock, which should be in the next couple days. Polyester thread. I have an 80-12 universal needle in here. Not all sewing machines are going to be okay with that for this type of a project. You might need to go up to a 90-14 top stitch needle, a 90-14 universal. It just depends. Again, I love to put my little Jukie-LB5020 to work, and I know that it will handle this bulk with an 80-12 universal, okay? Stitch length. Right here, we don't have that much bulk, although we are sewing through a faux leather, which is thicker than a cotton fabric. I'm going to lengthen my stitch length just a little bit. I have it set to 2.8. If this was cotton, we would be somewhere in the 2 to 2.5 millimeter stitch length range. But because this is a little bit thicker and I'm going through zipper tape, which is thicker, and zipper teeth, I'm bumping it to 2.8, okay? I'm going to start taking a few stitches, and I want to make sure that I make my machine stop with the needle down. This is going to allow me to pivot on all four corners. So I stop with the needle down. I'm going to lift the presser foot up. I'm going to pivot and turn. So now I'm in a line here, and I'm going to stitch this whole length of the way. When you approach this zipper pull, if you already have your zipper foot on, you should just skim the side of it. Depending on the width of the foot or the width of the zipper, or maybe if you were a little bit off on the size of your box, you may be a little bit closer. If you are, don't freak out. Just stop with the needle down and lift the presser foot up, and then just scoot the zipper pull past. That way it's out of your way and you can continue to stitch without worrying about any, wobbly stitches or your presser foot hitting that, okay? Now notice I said an 80-12 universal needle. Some of you might be wondering, well, isn't that tape gumming up your needle? Do you have one of those chrome or whatever slick needles? I'm not using anything fancy here. Just a regular 80-12 universal needle. It ain't even a new one. I've sewn multiple projects on this with this needle, okay? On this machine. All right, we've stopped with the needle down on the other corner. I'm pivoting. I lifted the presser foot, pivoted. I'm going just past the next corner, needle in, lift up, pivot, and now we're going to stitch this whole way. Again, if I need to move this zipper pull out of the way, I'll come about halfway and then scoot it out of my way like I just showed you. Okay, I'm going to stop before I get there. Lift the presser foot up. Needle is down. That way your project doesn't move on you, and then you don't have a wobble in your stitches. If you lift up your presser foot, make sure that the needle is in so that it holds that exact spot. You can reposition it, presser foot down, and then we're going to keep sewing. So that double-sided tape does not gum up your needle. I'm not even using a fancy needle. If this were a project that was going to get washed, it would just wash away also. But here, I don't have any issues. It's serving its exact purpose, holding my zipper tape so that it doesn't move, so that I can stitch straight. Now I'm coming back over. I pivoted on the last corner, and I'm coming back to where I started. Instead of taking back stitches and building up a lot of thread bulk, the way I like to do it is I just stitch 2 to 3 stitches over the first stitches from where we started that seam. So I'm just going to come a few more stitches in and try to, I can't really see too much, but I'm trying to match it to where I was. And then that's it. Because you have that overlap of stitching at from the beginning stitches and the end ones, that's enough to secure it in place, okay? All this stuff is covering my thread snips. Let's go ahead and trim this up. And literally, y'all, the project is done. That's the trickiest part that you just need to spend some time with, and that is the stitching of the zipper into position, okay? There's the zipper. I go in now. Where are my good scissors? Here. And I'm going to trim away the zipper tape, not flush with the edge of the fabric because we don't want zipper tape fabric sticking out. I'm going to trim it just about 1/8 of an inch beyond the stitch line. And make sure that you don't cut your faux leather. Something like that. If you have a lighter handy, you could also fold back the faux leather and just singe these edges here of the zipper tape. It's polyester, so it's not going to catch fire. It's just going to lightly melt and keep those edges from fraying. The other side, same thing. Okay, I'm going to fold, make sure you fold that faux leather away. I don't want you to light the fabric backing of the faux leather sheets on fire. Okay, so this is what we have. Tell me that was not easy. Easy peasy, okay? And we do have that wash away wonder tape in the shop. We also sell, remember, these assorted sheets of the faux leather. So if you want to check that out, the link is in the caption and in the video description box here on YouTube or on Facebook, okay? So all we got to do now is flip it pretty side face down again, fold this baby in half, match up the sides and the bottom, and we're going to top stitch it. Remember, it's raw edges out. So this is the beauty of doing a project like this with a fabric that doesn't fray. Saves you time. The fabric doesn't require any interfacing because the body of the faux leather is already a little bit thicker. So you get enough body with the project on its own without it being lined, okay? So for stitching on the outside here, like the top stitching to put it together, I don't use my zipper foot. So again, I'm going to release the zipper foot and put my regular foot back on. Gotta love a machine with these snap-on feet. Boom, boom, that's done. A lot of times people think, well, I don't switch my feet. They don't even take 10 seconds to swap on and off. And the more you familiarize yourself with your user manual, the accessories that already came with your machine, decorative stitches, stuff like that, the more confident and comfortable you are going to feel sewing all types of projects. So I always recommend that, and y'all know that that's how I teach. I like y'all to do different things. Change the stitch width, change the stitch length, put on a different foot, because the more you do that, the more comfortable it becomes, okay? So I'm going to stitch around, again, the same way that we pivoted around the four corners of the zipper box. We're gonna do the same thing on the outside here. So quick tip for those of you that maybe are newer to this kind of stuff, these plastic clips are great for holding your fabric layers together on these types of fabrics. The faux leather, the cork, the vinyls and stuff, you're not gonna wanna put a pin through this because you're gonna have a hole in it, okay? So if you don't have plastic clips yet, definitely grab some. It helps keep the layers together without piercing holes in it. Now, because I was using up the entire sheet, you see that the only waste that we have was the little strip that we cut out from here to install the zipper. Now this itself could be a little loop. Okay, if you make a little wristlet pouch or you put some type of a keychain or a key fob or something, you could even use this if you really wanted to use all your scraps, okay? But for this, because I wanted to take advantage of the most of the width of the sheet, the fabric sheet here, you can see that I haven't left a lot. Remember, we came in with that box 1/2 inch in. So half of that is going to be stitched up because we're going to sew now with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So for me, I have my regular foot back on. I've scooted my needle position over to 5.0, which I know gives me a 1/4 inch from the edge of the presser foot here. And then I'm just going to start sewing. So here's one thing I wanted to mention, because not everybody has the same type of sewing machine that can stitch through anything. This is a fabulous project if you have a machine that struggles with bulk. Okay, because you don't have to start all the way at the tip top. This is not a seam that's being held here. We don't have fabric that's bunching up on the corner. So if you don't start sewing at the tip top, it doesn't matter. The fabric is folded. It's still going to hold, okay? So if your machine doesn't want to let you stitch all the way to the top, come about a 1/4 inch down. Just take 1 or 2 back stitches and then keep sewing. So don't feel that you have to completely avoid all your bag making type of projects because maybe you have a more basic machine or it just doesn't handle bulk. Skip about a 1/4 inch where the chunkiest part is, lengthen your stitch length and just go for it, okay? So again, I always like to preface this. I'm using this very specific machine that doesn't give me no issues. I don't have a Teflon foot, I don't have a walking foot, but I don't have any issues. Your machine may not work like this, okay? This is, I think, one of the reasons why we've sold so many of these machines. So I started right there, and it's where the zipper tape edge is. I took 2 stitches, and I see that it's not feeding, like it just hasn't taken off. No big deal. All I need to do is pull the needle up a little, lift my presser foot, and slide that fabric a hair, like the length of the stitch. You can also go in here and lengthen your stitch length to a little bit longer, 3 millimeters, let's say. So now, that's it. The first 3 millimeter length stitch length, it just took off. So now I know I'm not going to have any issues going down and down. And that's actually a good place to start because if your machine is struggling up top there, you might have issues when you come around to the other side too. So if you troubleshoot it on one end and you get past it, then you know, okay, now it should be smooth sailing for the rest of my project. Now, For those of you that watch my videos, you know that when we set up our stitch length on a straight stitch to 3mm stitch length, it's usually for top stitching. But in this case, this is a construction seam, and the reason it works is because I'm sewing through 2 layers of faux leather. The fabric is a lot thicker, okay, than 2 layers of cotton. So you have to adjust that length to allow the machine to feed through bulkier layers. All right, so I'm stopping what looks to be close to the bottom to me. Needles in, presser foot up. When I pivot, if I see fabric here, I know that I have not gauged it right. So all you need to do, don't take out the needle or nothing, just lift the presser foot back up, go back to what you were doing, presser foot down, take an extra stitch or 2, then pivot again. And you can keep doing that as many times as you need to, because you see here now I don't have fabric sticking out. So I don't have to lose my spot or reposition anything. I just, stopped 1 stitch shy of what I should have. So that's easy to correct. Now we're coming back here. And I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance here, even though this fabric doesn't fray, because if your stitches or your seam lines here are wonky at all, you can actually trim away the excess seam allowance and clean it up to make it look a little bit straighter. So that's why I did, there's no sense in stitching like 1/8 inch and then not giving yourself enough room to trim if you need to. So do the 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we're coming back around to the other side, and literally we are done. Again, if your machine doesn't like bulk, when you get here, just stop a little bit shy of it and take 1 or 2 stitches, just enough to secure the stitches. I'm going to go all the way though, because I can even backstitch. See, I don't have issues with this machine, so it's a little bit tricky sometimes because people are like, oh, you make it look so easy. I mean, it's the machine. When you have the right tools, it makes things a little bit easier. And so for those of us that have more expensive sewing machines, I think we're always so impressed to see, or like not even believe it. Like, there's no way that $400 machine can do what my $3,000 machine can't do, but it can. Okay, so there's the pouch. If you sewed straight on the sides when you did this, then you don't really need to trim away, but it's kind of chunky. It's a 1/4 inch. So I like to go in and just trim away to like 1/8 inch. So it's a little bit closer, and I don't have, that fabric sticking out there. Now on the corners, you can cut just a 90-degree turn, or you can trim the corners and give it like a snip on the side, like how we would do if we were turning the fabric right side out, which I'm actually going to talk about in a second. Let me pop into the chat. First, let me cut so I don't cut crooked while I'm looking away. Okay, I see it. Debbie's asking, if you didn't want the raw edges showing, could you sew right sides together and then turn inside out? Well, guess what, Debbie? It's your lucky day, because I went through the whole mission and wasted the whole sheet just so I can show you. Don't do it. But I get this all the time because a lot of people don't like raw edges. If you don't like raw edges, then just, make a little lined zippered pouch. But this project is definitely designed to not be lined, because remember, the fabric is, the faux leather is fabric backed already, okay? So here's one that I did with the exact same construction steps, but instead of flipping it wrong sides together and top stitching like we've done here, I went ahead and put it wrong sides, pretty sides touching, and sewed it. So on the outside, it looks like a little pouch, right? It looks like it works. But if I give you a close-up of the corners of what happens because of how we installed the zippers, do you see how instead of it being folded out with the zipper on top, look how not cute that looks. So you get the raw edge of the box and it's being lifted out because it's pushed out since it was sewn in the reverse. So don't do it. I think it looks way better still with the raw edges out. Don't y'all? It's like a little envelope, like a little leather pouch. I think it looks super cute like that. But that's the sample. Don't do it. They don't look cute. And then, you have the raw seams on the inside. I actually like it the other way. But, there's different applications for different things and different techniques. If you need a quickie pouch and you're giving it to someone who doesn't even know what raw edges are, definitely do it this way. Okay. Oh, Debbie says, okay, thank you. I agree. Definitely. So I like to do that, and show y'all different things. Now, we did these just with 90-degree angle corners so that we didn't have any waste. Remember, all the waste we had was this, and from this one, from one sheet, I had the little box that I cut out here for the zipper, and then this just from trimming the seam allowance. That's what I want, you know? I want no waste. So if you wanted to have a little more waste or just wanted to shape it, you could round this out. Just take a little saucer and you can make rounded edges and do the same thing. Just top stitch around the round. But here I feel like I have a little bit more room to put more stuff in the pouch. So I'm really happy with the way these turned out. Again, remember that we sell these 4-packs. We sell them in 4-packs, I should say. We have a ton of different colors. If you see a color you like, or you know you want mostly brights or neutrals or all dark colors, or you don't like orange, you can say, you know, any color except orange, no browns or whatever. Put that in the box when you place your order, and my team will do their best to try and match you up with, you know, an assorted color of faux leather sheets that match, you know, what you're wanting, okay? But 1 sheet per pouch for this size. And the finished pouch here measures, because I know somebody is gonna ask, measures about 8 1/4, and this one doesn't, I didn't trim away the seam allowance on this one, so let's do this one because it's a little trimmed. So this measures exactly 8 inches by 5, I want to say, by 5 1/2, 5 3/4 to the top of the zipper, okay? So cute size pouch. I hope y'all give it a try. Remember that we have the faux leather sheets and that double-sided tape. We have polyester thread that's coming back in stock, and we do have the sewing machines. The Jukie-LB5020s are back in stock. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm glad that you all love the quality of the faux leather sheets. Thank you so much. Post pictures if you make this pouch, and I will see y'all on the next episode of WIP Wednesday. Thank you. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Bye.